Hello everyone, I am Dr. Neeta Vaidande, Associate Professor in the Department of Commerce at Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Here I am going to brief you on Export-Import Management. In this today's introductory video, we are going to understand the concepts of exports and imports, that is international trade. How is international trade different from domestic trade? Who regulates India's foreign trade? All those national and international organizations that supports international trade, the documentation process that is involved in international trade, and the payment methods. Export-import management is concerned with managing exports and imports. Exports and imports facilitates easy international trade. Now, what is international trade? International trade is a process of buying and selling across national boundaries. In international trade, there are many countries and currencies involved, which makes the process complex and complicated. There are two elements of international trade: exports and imports. Export and import is a big business, and apart from exporters and importers, there are other players who are involved in the process of international trade. These involve banks, customs, intermediaries like freight forwarders, C&F agents, shipping companies, insurance companies, port authorities, etc. Export and imports are the two elements of foreign trade. Export signifies selling of goods and services to other countries, and import here implies buying of goods from other countries. Now, here the question comes, why do nations trade? Nations trade with each other for several reasons. One of the basic reasons is no country in the world is self-sufficient. Every country is bestowed with some or the other resources. So, through international trade, we go for exchanging those goods and services across nations which we find is scarcely available in our country. Because of unequal distribution of resources, one country needs to depend upon other country. Say for example, India is bestowed with natural as well as human resource. US is a technologically advanced nation and also rich with capital. Both the countries exchange these resources with each other to fulfill the needs and requirements. In this way, foreign trade helps to fulfill the needs and requirements of each other. There are other reasons as well why do countries trade with each other. It is not only unequal distribution of resources, but also the countries enjoy absolute and comparative cost advantage. Through international trade, countries reap economies of scale. They spread the risk of loss from one country to other country, and by exporting the goods to other countries, they get an opportunity to earn profit. The other reason why countries do trade with each other is to attain self-sufficiency. Because of exports and imports, countries need to produce more. When they produce more, here people get employment opportunities in the country. The infrastructural development also takes place and the country attains self-sufficiency. Trade also contributes to global efficiency. When the countries trade with each other, they maintain a cordial relationship, and this cordial relationship attains global harmony, resulting into world peace. Now, let us understand the concept of India's foreign trade. India's foreign trade is regulated by FTDR Act, that is Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act 1992. India's foreign trade is governed by DGFT, Directorate General of Foreign Trade, which is an attached office of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. DGFT is involved in promoting India's foreign trade. They issue IEC number. They also have a database of exports and imports. They also frame ITC-HS code, that is India Trade Classification Harmonized System code for each product of exports and imports. In India, the foreign trade policy is drafted after every 5 years. Now let us move to characteristics of foreign trade. There is a regulatory body in every country that regulates their foreign trade. Foreign trade is subject to strict rules and regulations. There are international rules and regulations framed by every country. The international organization that regulates international trade at global level is WTO, that is World Trade Organization. Foreign trade also is subject to tariff and non-tariff barriers. Tariffs are the taxes that are levied on imports and exports, whereas quota restrictions are also levied by some countries to restrict the imports in a country. There is an involvement of different currencies in international trade. Different currencies which are globally accepted currencies involves US dollar, euro, yuan, yen, and other currencies are also involved when the countries trade with each other. Let us understand what is export-import management. Export-import management deals with overseeing and coordinating exports and imports of the country. The goal of export-import management is to ensure the smooth flow of goods and services between countries. International trade. What is international trade? There are two elements in international trade: export and import. International trade deals with buying and selling of goods and services across nation. There are many players who are involved in international trade, that are exporters and importers. Apart from them, banks, customs, intermediaries, shipping companies, insurance companies, port authorities, etc. are involved in the process of international trade that makes it complex and difficult. International trade is different from domestic trade. What makes the difference between domestic and international trade? Of course, the geographical boundaries. When the exporters and importers, they come in the contract of export and import, they belong to different locations, they belong to different geographies, which makes this process complex. Let us understand the characteristics of international trade. Regulated by. The first characteristic is regulated by. Indian foreign trade is regulated by the FTDR Act, that is Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act 1992. The attached office of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, that is DGFT, governs India's international trade. They frames policies for imports and exports and also is involved in issuing IEC number, that is Importer Exporter Code number, without which one cannot start their import and export businesses. International trade is subject to strict rules and regulations. One need to follow strict rules and regulations of international trade. Trade pertaining to packaging, rules and regulations regarding transportation, customs rules and regulations are involved in international trade. International trade is also subject to tariff and non-tariff barriers. Tariff are the taxes which are levied on imports to curtail or restrict imports in the country. Non-tariff barrier includes quota restrictions by the countries. There are different currencies involved in international trade like US dollar, which is universally accepted currency. Apart from US dollar, the other currencies which are involved in international trade includes euro, yen, yuan, etc. International trade is subject to multifaceted competition. There is a stiff competition as there are major players involved in foreign trade. Let us understand the significance of foreign trade. Foreign trade enables to earn more profit by expanding the business at international level. It also enables to develop the infrastructure and result into rapid industrialization. Foreign trade enables the countries to earn foreign exchange reserves. It gives the opportunities to the companies of different countries to go for international collaboration. Thus, economic growth of a nation takes place due to international trade. So, this is a short briefing on the concept of export-import management. In the next video, we will have a detailed discussion on the further topics. Thank you.